Hello Millwall fans, Paul Eiffel here. It's time for Chat with Chaps.
Hello, Millwall fans, and welcome back to another episode of Chat with Chaps. I don't know what to call this one. It's a bit random, really. It's a bit of a, why not? Let's jump on and talk about the situation and the game yesterday. So, to do that, we are joined by a number of guests. We'll start with someone who isn't necessarily familiar, but you may have also seen him on the opposition view earlier in the week. It is James, a Sheffield Wednesday fan from the Wednesday Till I Die podcast. James, how you doing, mate? And thank you for coming on.
I'm doing fine, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I'm not sure you'd have invited me if the game would have gone the way that I hoped it would have, but here we are. I'm here, so yeah, delighted to come on.
Well, the game that the way the game should have gone as well, if we're really honest with each other, we'll get into that. To his, I got it right. That way, no, that. Oh, I don't know. I can never get this right. Next to him is the one and only Disco Steve, who's got a bit of a croaky voice. I don't know if that's because he's been singing Bee Gees all night or because he was at the game yesterday. Probably a bit of both. Disco, how you doing, mate?
Absolutely, yeah. Hi, Chris. Hi, everyone. Yeah, thanks for getting us on. Yeah, no, I'm suffering with the man flu, I'm afraid, so just can't shake it off right now. I couldn't even sing yesterday. I did have a little cheer when Ogbo put the penalty over the bar. Sorry, James. But, we at least had three things to cheer yesterday, so that was one positive for us, that's for sure.
I heard you headed it, Steve. So
I missed it, unfortunately.
Hope you feel better soon, mate. Also joining us is Angelo. Angelo, the Sicilian godfather. How you doing, mate?
All good, mate. All good. Pleased to scrape away with a point from yesterday.
We scored 2 goals, mate. We scored 2 goals. You know,
mate, unbelievable.
And last but certainly no means least, Mr. Ben, Greeny Ben. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I mean, I was. I think I was quite frustrated and quite negative after yesterday's game. But Alex Neil has got this way of just calming me down in his post matches, because I felt the same after the Oxford game. But listening to his post match, he's just, I don't know, he speaks so well. And we'll certainly talk about that. But
very honest, very honest. I thought he was spot on in everything he said. And just to add to what the guys said, I'm not exactly flavour of the month with my mates after yesterday, because I told everyone that Sheffield Wednesday were an absolute home banker at even money, and I knackered all of their hackers. So, great we come away with points, but no one likes me like us.
Yeah, well, you're definitely suited to us. So, look, chaps, I just want to get your thoughts on the game yesterday. I'm going to start with you, James. You know, let's be honest, you could have been out of sight, and you probably should have been out of sight. And, the penalty miss definitely come back to bite you in the arse. But what was your take on the game yesterday? And when we spoke earlier in the week, I was quite downbeat on us. Were we as bad as I said we were, or was I being a little bit too harsh on us?
Do you know what? Let's not beat around the bush. I don't think you were great. I don't think it were a fantastic display by Millwall. I think you did. You tried to shut us down as best you possibly could. I think going forward, you lacked quite a bit. I'll be honest. You got into the wide areas, and then a misplaced pass, it just kind of went out of play. We seemed to deal with everything he threw at us, other than the set pieces and the throw-ins, which, I mean, that's not a Millwall thing. That's just, we can't defend set pieces and corners whichever side we come up against, to be honest. No, like I said, it were there wasn't any. I didn't see much of a threat from Millwall, but like I said, you did limit us to a certain extent, certainly in that first half. I know we got the goal really early doors, which obviously helps with everything, but yeah, you said to me Tanganga is a threat. I think everyone knows he's the threat, and when he got that free header, obviously it was 1-0 at that point from the corner. I was thinking, how the hell has he done that? We know how much of a threat he is. I mean, obviously he does it all the time, so it's not just that we can't deal with him. Seemingly nobody can deal with him. But surely you'd try and stifle that threat, and the ball is always going to be heading towards him. So I thought he was a standout one. I don't think. Well, I'd love to know your thoughts, but I don't think Esse had a great game. It looked like he looked a bit lost at times. It did look. It looks a decent player, but nothing really seemed to come off for him. But no, I'm sat here now frustrated. I mean, it's a weird one because we came back from behind. It was 2-1. We could have gone away with nothing. We did get a point, which obviously is a plus. But as you rightly said, I think had we scored that penalty, it could have been 3-4. I mean, when you hit the bar once, hit the post twice, and miss a penalty, really like the day wasn't really going to be ours. And yeah, it was just a frustrating afternoon from our point of view, to be honest.
Do you know the strange thing about that game yesterday? Sheffield Wednesday should have scored 5, 6, 7, 8 goals or whatever. But did you realise that Jensen didn't actually make any saves?
These. Sorry, Angelo. I was just going to bring this up. Like, I'm not saying. I said this in my post-match yesterday. I don't think these stats necessarily represent the game that we watched. But when you look at these stats, this does look like a draw, doesn't it? When you just look at these, as you can see there, Jensen didn't make a save. Neither side had 2 XG, similar amount of big chances, same amount of shots. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, when you look at the numbers, it does look like a draw. You're right, and you did have some good chances, and obviously the goal. When you talk about XG, when you're 1-on-1, from 6-7 yards out, that is going to bump your XG up, and you expect him to score. Obviously, he did. Just like from our point of view, from a Wednesday perspective, it's just defensive mistakes once again. He's took the free kick from the halfway line. Like, that is not a threat whatsoever. It should be bread and butter. But when you watch it back, you see Windass, he's gone to try and hit it with his foot when it's up at chest height. It's just an easy header to head it away. That's the first mistake. I think Jan Valery slips, which doesn't help. I don't know if he gets pushed or not, but he's on the floor. The ball goes sailing past him. And then you've got Deshaun Bernard jumping forward to, I don't know what he's trying to do, whether he's trying to play someone offside or anticipates Windass making contact with the ball. And then Domayofa just leaves his man. And then, it's a great touch from Honeyman to control it in the way that he did, because he must have been quite, just as surprised as everyone else that the ball had got through. I mean, it's funny as well, because the lad who took it, he slipped, didn't he? And there was a big, hey! And then obviously the ball goes through and it's in the back of the net. And Millwall were doing that boring chant of, hey! for like 5 minutes long. And then it obviously ends with the cheer at the end. So it just, really, really frustrating. But you didn't, it's annoying as well, because at the start of the season, if you'd have said to us we're going to be 10th, 3-4 points off the playoffs, you'd have snapped your hands off for it. When it's now, you look on the socials and everyone's going mental and start slagging players off and things, left, right, and centre. I think we need to just take stock, and we're actually in a decent place at the moment. And this is Championship football. We beat Derby County with a last-minute goal. Should have lost that game if we're being perfectly honest about it. Perhaps should have won this one. We didn't. We drew it. That is the Championship, isn't it? Really.
James, can I speak to you about your goalkeeper, mate? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I thought? The Honeyman goal?
Yeah.
I think your goalkeeper sits down too early and makes it easy for Honeyman just to slip it to the right. And I looked at it 2 or 3 times and I thought, why has the goalkeeper gone down so quickly? He literally he puts his legs almost like doing a splits, and he just makes it easy for Honeyman to slip it to the side of him. And obviously the second one, he gets his hand to it. Was you disappointed that he didn't do better with the second goal?
Yeah, definitely the second one. Yeah, he'll be annoyed himself. He's got to be saving that one. I think obviously he's only young. James Beadle is on loan from Brighton. He's in the England setup as well. He'll go far as a goalkeeper. There's a few things that he perhaps needs to work on. He's catching, coming for the ball and catching. There was a goal that we conceded against Derby when it just kind of came across the front of him. He should have dealt with it. I don't think he did a great deal wrong yesterday, but yeah, his shot stopping ability is really good, from close range. But when it's a 1-on-1, he does he does tend to struggle if we're being honest. But the thing is, I can't really pick spots off him because he also pulls saves off that he shouldn't make as well.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of take the rough with the smooth sometimes. And at the end of the day, look, if he was good at one-on-ones and he did command his box and did all the other things, he'd be at Liverpool or Man United, Man City. You know, he'd be in the Premier League playing regular football. So you have to. There's always going to be something that they're perhaps not quite as good at, if you know what I mean.
I think there was another one where he could have caught it and he decided to punch.
It was near the end, wasn't he?
There was no one around him.
Do you know what though? I get there quite early, and when they were warming up, they were doing a lot of punching. So whether that's something, because he dropped one against Derby and they nearly scored.
Oh, okay.
So whether that's something that they've been working on, and it's kind of, which, you know, it's like when you see there was a moment where Dom Iorfa just put it out of play when he could have probably controlled it and played it back to Beadle. It's one of those where it's frustrating at the time, but had he gone to catch it and dropped it, you'd be saying, oh, he should have punched it, or he should have done better than that. So it doesn't. Yeah, at the time, it's frustrating, but the game's played on percentages now. Do you know when you're looking in, it's like passing out from the back and stuff like that. Everyone gets frustrated about when they lose it, but actually, when they kick it long, how many times do you regain possession? It's all done on if they feel that punching is the best option, then fair enough. But yeah, I certainly saw that, and people have commented on that as well.
Can I just come in? I think a couple of things, James, on what you've said there. Firstly, the free kick. Before that, you mentioned the Millwall chant. It's called the monk chant. So it's just a moo, like, and I must admit, the fans were really disgruntled because we were pretty damn poor, weren't we? Yeah. And everybody was getting a bit disgruntled. And just suddenly, I don't know what switched it on actually, but suddenly, as you rightly say, for a couple of minutes, they started the chant. And we seemed to get on the front foot. Now, it might have just been coincidence.
We won a free kick, Steve. That was what it was.
Well, that's one. No, but it was before that, Chris. It had started. The monk chart started, and it was a good one. You know, when it's good, and it got us going a bit. And then we got the free kick. Getting onto the free kick, we were so lucky. He mishit it. There's no two ways about it. He slipped, and it goes. And that's what took everybody. That's why they're all at 6s and 7s, because instead of, we were lofting them, weren't we? Every time we were lofting them as we do. And it just sort of skidded through, and it just took everybody by surprise. I mean, I can't believe Honeyman actually took such a great touch. It was probably more by luck than judgment. No offence to George, and he was giving it to the fans. So I think he was giving one to Joe there in the crowd. Saying,
I can't play number 10.
But you know what though? When you did score, I thought for the next 5 or 10 minutes we were all at sea. Dom Iorfa goes off injured.
Yes.
That didn't help either. We brought the young lad on who obviously then went on to score. But there was 5 or 10 minute period where you were kind of on top, and you got the goal, and fair play to you for trying to going to get that second goal, and obviously you did as well, which credit to Millwall there really. They saw that they were. The defensive frailties and kind of went for the jugular. It would have been easy for you just to sit back and think, you know what, we've equalised, we've got a point. Let's just take this point and move on to the next game. Because if you'd have said after the first 10 or 15 minutes, if you'd have said you'd have come away with a point, I think you'd have probably laughed at that. To be honest,
look, a huge word in that, confidence. We had absolute zero confidence. You go one up. You can see it. Ooh, the body language was awful. That's what was pissing everybody off. And then they just got that confidence from that goal. And as you rightly say, 15 minutes, we probably looked the better side for that short while, and then took the lead. And you think, can we hold on? I've got to say, most fans sitting in the crowd there thought we ain't holding on to this the way you're playing, unless it's our lucky day, as it seemed, with all the misses and what have you.
Yeah.
In the end, when you got the equaliser so quickly, we were thankful to hang on and not. We thought they're going to get a third. And with what you've done at Borough, etc., we thought, oh shit, we're going to bloody blow this. The other thing I just wanted to say was Essay for me, man of the match, full milk for us. I thought he was our best player. He sort of, not my opinion, he can be frustrating. He can hold on to the ball a little bit too long at times. He can choose the wrong option. He's very easily goes down on the floor to try and get tackling. It's a desperation to try and hook his foot around the ball. So I think he's still obviously got a hell of a lot to learn. But he was the only spark of possibility of us getting anything in the whole game, and he often had three players.
Disco, we've lost you there, mate. Your sound's gone.
Your microphone's gone dodgy.
Now,
It's gone.
is that on? Any better?
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry, I think I pulled the cord. So, yeah, I thought SA was our bright spot. Look, not perfect, but he was the only one who was going to create something. And
he loses it quite a bit, though, doesn't he? He loses possession quite a lot, which I suppose is frustrating. It reminds me, and I said this in the preview show, it reminds me of Jeddy Gassama, who... I mean, both Jeddy Gassama and Masaba both played. I found they're quite similar. One played on the left, one played on the right yesterday. And I feel like they're similar players in terms of, they can get on the ball and then they just quite forget what to do at the end, hold on to the ball a little bit too long. Yeah. Sometimes they feel like they need to, have 5, 6, 7 touches of the ball to actually do anything with it, when it's sometimes it one touch, bang, and offload it. You don't need to run every single time. And I do find they're quite similar. I mean, SA probably is the better than the two that we've got. They only show it in kind of flashes and stuff, but yeah, very very similar play and exciting as well when they get on the ball. Like I said to you, Chris, when you want a player that gets you on the edge of the seat, and I thought Jeddy Gassama a few times beat his man, and that was it. He put the afterburners on and he was off. But
was he on the left? Was he on the left? He megged Leonard and he got him. But yeah, he did that. Look, not many get past Leonard, and he give him a torrid time. Although I thought Leonard grew into the game later on. To be fair,
yeah. What did you think to the referee, by the way? Because it was a Premier League referee, weren't it? I think that's his first EFL game that he's reffed in quite a while. I thought the referee was quite fair and good, for both sides. I don't know what your perspective was from a Millwall point of view.
No, I wouldn't.
If you want to say fair as being totally shit, then I would agree, James. Yeah, but it was nothing new for us. We always have bad refs.
Did you think it was a penalty? Did you think it was a penalty? Because I think that it was
soft as soft can be.
I just think it was a stupid challenge from the Millwall lad. I think it was going nowhere, and he just kind of cut across him, and then brought his leg. I don't think it was a dive or anything like that. I think he genuinely caught him, but the ball was going nowhere.
There is no doubt all of that is true, Jake. I just think out of 100, you might get 5 of those. I would say.
Ben, do you know what though, mate? When you watch the highlights back, mate, Brian doesn't even complain. He doesn't complain at all. And he definitely pushes his back. I thought it was a penalty, but
it was just stupid from a Millwall perspective. Didn't need to do it. And that's what I get really frustrated at those, where you see it when we're chasing the game, and your lads running. The ball was just going to go out of play for a throw in. And it's just a little push, and you think, what are you doing? Like, you just keep making it so easy for the ref.
I think we can probably agree that whether it's one of those that's kind of like borderline, right? But what we can agree is that Joe Bryan, in doing what he did, he gives the referee a decision to make, and he didn't need to do that. So that's to me is his fault. Was it a penalty? I don't think so, but I can see either way.
But the referee, because he put it straight over the bar anyway. So
even James, because I struggled to get a stream working yesterday, but the one I ended up listening to for the second half was your commentary, and it's always actually quite interesting to listen to the opposition commentary, because you get a sense for what they really think. And I don't know who the two lads were on it. One of them was a former player, but even
Giles Cook. We used to have him. I used to have him on the podcast actually as a regular co-host. So yeah, I know Giles quite well.
Is he? Yeah. So that even they said that they thought the referee was really poor in terms of stop-start. Maybe it's just difference.
That's
between
the Prem, though, isn't it? I think that's just the Premier League.
True. Yeah.
I thought what was good from the ref, though, there was somewhere there was like a tug. I think it might have been Charles who tugged one of the Millwall lads' shirt. And then the player went on, and then there was a decent tackle from Iofa, and he pulled it back for the tug on the shirt, and you don't normally see that. Like it's
true.
It would have just carried on, and Yeah, and it wouldn't have been a foul, but I thought he was quite good at doing that, because at the end of the day, you can't tuck someone's shirt. So as much as you see it all the time, I thought that were again, that was obviously from my perspective, we were looking, it's a decent challenge for Iorfa, crunching tackle, and then it gets pulled back. It is annoying, but to be fair, I thought it was fair.
I think he did one for you as well, similar, didn't he? I think it was one
he did.
Yeah.
Denor fouled him, and then Tanganga won the ball clean, and then it was the exact same thing. So that's fair play. Yeah. James, one question then, and be as brutal or as honest as you like. In terms of teams that have come to Hillsborough this season, how would you rank us based on yesterday's performance? Do we look like a mid-table side? Do we look like a side that's going to struggle and be at the bottom end? I'm pretty sure you're not going to say we look like a playoff side. So, how would you just gauge us based on yesterday's performance?
Yeah, I think you play to your strengths, and you said it as yourself. Like, set pieces is where you're better at, and that you could clearly see that. All the big men come up from the back when you get a set piece, and you really look to hammer those home. From how good you were versus other teams, like some of the Leeds is probably the best team that's come to Hillsborough. Burnley look really good as well. There's there's a reason why they're up where they are. I thought when we went to the stadium, I liked Sunderland looked decent. That was the second game of the season. I think it's. Whenever you get a new manager, it's always difficult. I do. You mentioned when you spoke to me earlier, like, with your team in transition, and I think you can see that. Like, it's always whenever a new manager comes in and you suddenly start winning, 3 games on the bounce. I think that's sometimes a little bit more worrying than when you don't, because I think you can see that he'll see what's worked, see what's not worked, and I think you'll soon get it right, and he'll whether he gets to bring some players in. I mean, you need a goal scorer for certain. I know he scored 2, but you need someone to finish those chances off when you do get when you've got someone like Essay down the right hand side. You need someone to be converting those crosses into the box. Like, that's an absolute must. But I think everyone could say they need a goal scorer. To be fair, they're like goal dust, aren't they? So whether you're going to get one is another guess. But no, I wouldn't say you're the worst side to come to Hillsborough. You're probably bottom half of the league, but I think there's certainly more. There's certainly worse sides. Hull were absolutely terrible. We played them at their place. Got their manager sacked as well after we beat them, which Danny Rill seems to have a knack of doing. He did that for you boys, didn't he? When we beat you at the Den last season, and the manager got sacked. So he's done that a few times now. But they were absolutely awful. Like, really bad side. We beat them 2-0 in the end. But yeah, it's a weird one, because you did have chances, but everyone gets chances against us. We're like it's like Kevin Keegan with football. If you score 2, we'll try and score 3. We didn't manage it this time around, but that's defending just goes out the window for us at the moment.
I'll tell you, we need a striker without a shadow of a doubt. You're right. Although Coburn was actually injured and he was in the stands watching the game, and you'd have had a very different proposition had he been playing the sort of game you think he'd have relished that with a battle with the centre halves. I'd love Bannon in the midfield. If we could get a player like that who can create. Listen, I know he's getting on now and he's got the flappy hairdo and all that.
Hey, you know what? He's actually had his hair done. I think he needs to go back for a refund, because it's
got some better glue.
Although I've got no.
I can't talk today on my bloody hairdo, But no, look, he just dictates the play. He's quality, and it's simple. It's so simple, James, isn't it? He just quick free kick, right in front of the player. That they just run on too nicely.
Yeah. I mentioned to Chris on the preview. I said about how sometimes we don't have the players to do what he wants to do. And I don't know if you saw, there was a time where Beadle got the ball, and then you had Iorfa shot over to the right hand side. He was like nearly at the halfway line, and Bannon then moves over to almost like left back, and then you've got the left back. He's over at the halfway. All the players kind of moved around and not really in their traditional positions. Everyone's in effect out of position. The ball then went over. I thought he was just going to clip it to Iorfa. He's tall. He's 6'3", 6'4". I thought the ball was going to go out to him. He was going to flick it on, and we were going to start the move that way. Bannon was shouting for it, and it went to the left. And then in the end, you actually got the ball off us, and you had a shot. I think it just went wide. Wide of Beadle's left-hand post. And it's like things like that. Like, I think sometimes we overcomplicate the game, and yes, it's the second tier of English football, but to that point, it's not the Premier League either. These players sometimes aren't good enough to do those sorts of things, and that's where we come a little bit unstuck. But don't get me wrong, it's great when it comes off and the fizzing the passes around, and it looks wonderful. But there's a guy that sits behind me, Mr. Gerrit Forrard, because that's all he shouts. He don't like that passing out from the back at all. Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Going back to the. Oh, sorry, Steve.
No, go on, just a very quick one. Am I right as well in terms of Windass? He plays in your 10, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
He seemed to be very deep a lot of the time. He comes deep. And I quite like that. I think we could learn from that a little bit, maybe. He comes deep so the midfield can stay more forward rather than all drop back and have this chasm between midfield and the forward.
Yeah. I think that's born out of frustration more than anything else, though, Steve. I don't think that. I think that's more. It's like the Wayne Rooney effect. Do you know what I mean? When he did it a lot, didn't he? Harry Kane does it quite a lot. Dropping deep to pick the ball up when really you want him further forward to do all the damage. He just wants to be on the ball. He came out after the Derby game. I mean, look, he were buoyant because he scored that goal, but he said he's self-proclaimed best number 10 in the league. So when you've got that sort of confidence, you just want the ball all the time, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Right. Sorry, Ben.
No, cheers, Dave. I want to say, James, just going back to the striker piece. So you would have seen Ivanovic for 89 minutes yesterday. He's our record signing. What were your thoughts on him?
About as good as Ike Ugbo, I thought. I didn't think he was great at all. I'll be honest. I don't think he did a great deal. I was just looking then. He had 2 shots. I can't really remember what those 2 shots were.
Yeah, I can't even remember those.
Yeah, a very largely ineffective. But I think other than the goals that you scored, I don't think you really. There was the header from Tanganga that I mentioned. There was the goals, obviously, that you scored. And obviously, great. The second goal was great finish. Other than that, I'm struggling to kind of. I can't really remember much.
He had a shot from just outside the area in the first half, just went past the post. Weren't a bad shot, actually. And then the second half, he prodded one over the bar, which I think he could have done a little bit better with that one.
That was from the Tanganga header, wasn't it? The back post. Again, set piece, back post. And then he was on the end of the second phase.
Yeah. He had 2 chances yesterday.
Yeah, I thought he struggled yesterday, really.
It's probably a harsh game to judge on, but I just thought I'd just get your opinion, seeing as we spent the best part of £3 million on him.
Look, Ben, I don't want to be rushing out to sign him in January, put it that way, anyway.
You sure? You can have him for 4, James, if you want him.
Well, we can swap him for Ike Ugbo, but after that penalty, I'm sure you won't want him either. So
no. Well,
Chris, was he the guy you said last year when you did the show with James that you would love to sign him? Is that the player? Is that him?
Yeah. Anyway, so next point that we should move to.
Look, do you know what though? In Chris's defence, we all wanted to sign him. We had him on loan from Troyes in the French league. They got relegated, so they're looking to offload him. And yeah, we wanted to sign him. We were fantastic last year. I just don't know what's happened to him. The transfer took ages. It was right up until the end of the transfer window. So he came to us. I think Troyes is part of the Man City group, so he was actually training at Man City's training ground and everything. Not obviously with Man City, but I don't know how the setup works. But it was over there. So he was keeping himself fit, but he came just not fit whatsoever, which is mad because he was with us last season. So I've no idea what he was doing in pre-season, probably on a few McDonald's and things like that. But he didn't come match fit, so he didn't come straight into the side. I think he missed the first game. He came off the bench in the cup in the midweek, and then he came off the bench a few times. And then he's just not really hit that form. So again, we all wanted him, and there's nothing. It's not a bad signing. It's just I have no idea what's happened to his form. He's just fell off a cliff.
A bit like a certain Duncan Watmore for us, although obviously he was injured. Another one that's been added to the injury list for us in terms of, I think, end of Jan, I think, is when he comes back. And I think that's probably one of the positives I didn't talk about yesterday in my post-match, because it's not necessarily of the game, is we've now got that 2-week break. Alex Neil can spend some time, in terms of league games, Alex Neil can spend some time talking to the players and getting some of his ideas across. He talked about in his post-match yesterday how he actually thinks at times he's confusing them, because, you know, he's trying to drip feed things in during the game and he can see it's confusing them. So he said, just go back to basics, lads. Just pump the ball forward and try and win the 50-50s and the second phases, which is obviously how we played for some time. I think that's one positive. The second positive, by the end of January, we could have Coburn, Cooper, Watmore, and there's another one that I'm forgetting, back involved in the squad. So that's, you know, some positive stuff. But I kind of want to switch gears now. And James, you're more than welcome to be a part of this conversation, or it's entirely up to you, mate. But I want to switch gears now and talk a little bit about what we think. Obviously, Ben doesn't want to be.
Said he's having problems.
In the Sheffield Wednesday fan.
Want to switch gears and talk a little bit about where we think we're at and what we think we need. So I would love just to go around the group, and I'll bring Ben back in. By the way, I'm not going to edit any of this. So all of this is going to stay on. This is just going out as is, because why not? So Ben, what you missed, mate, is I'm going to start asking some of those questions. So the first question I've got to all of you, and James, it'd be really good actually to get your opinion on this.
Yeah, I'll stick for this question, and then I will probably jump off. But yeah, I'll give you my thoughts.
Yeah, I'll ask you this question then. So, outside of Tanganga and Esse, so them two, take them two out of it. What two players in our squad team? Obviously, James, you can only judge based on what you saw yesterday and earlier at the start of the season. Would get into other mid-table championship 11s, and I would love to hear your answers on that, chaps. I'll give James some time to think, because he's probably got to do a bit of googling as well, because I struggled. But Ben, I'll come to you first, mate. So you can't say Esse, you can't say Tanganga. So name me two players that you think would get into starting lineup of other mid-table sides.
So James certainly won't agree with this based on yesterday, but I had Casper in there. I think he's probably about as best as we've got outside of those two. As I said, I didn't feel like he had his best game yesterday. It looked like he certainly gave the ball away quite cheaply, certainly in the first half quite a few times. But I just think age, profile, could he be better in a better side, potentially? So yeah, Casper. And I went with Jensen. I think he's got the attributes, the size, the scope to be a good championship keeper. He's certainly improved, hasn't he, for us? I think the more game time he's got. He struggled early on, but yeah, common knowledge with that. But yeah, he's certainly got better. I think he would just be. Well, I think he's a good championship keeper. Outside of that, mate, I was really scraping the barrel, and I probably wouldn't have any. I was maybe going to put Lenny in there. But again, something that we spoke about in our group chat was age, profile of player. Now, I think quality-wise, I think he could, but I think just in terms of age and profile, I don't think many other sides would go for him now. But yeah, I'd say Casper and Jensen would be my two.
Yep.
The one I'd go for is the lad who played on the other side, Aziz. I think he looked okay. Didn't light it up, but I think when you're looking at kind of age as well, he's what, 22, 23 years old, I think he is. So he's one that he's got age on his side. Because you look at the others, and some are touching 30, very much like our squad. Really, you're looking at Bannon, Windass, they're all the wrong side of 30 years old, and are they really going to get in? Well, I mean, Windass might be off to Brazil, which is a mad transfer rumour today. But just on that, by the way, he's the manager at Santos. He was also at Talleres in Argentina. 2 years ago, they was interested in him. That is the same manager that he had at Rangers when Windass was there. So that's where the link is. But yeah, mental. Although I looked at the beaches in Santos, and it looks a lot better than Hillsborough Park. Anyway, so I would not blame him. Yeah, I would not blame him one bit if he shot off to Brazil. But anyway, Aziz is probably the one that I would say, other than the two that you'd mentioned, who are obviously standouts. That from yesterday, I don't think he did anything particularly wrong. Again, he didn't really light it up, but I think that was one that I'd certainly pick.
He put the ball in for the second. Obviously, I know it came back out to Wintle, but he put the ball into the box for. SA was sort of trying to scramble, and then it broke back to Wintle will put his foot through it, and we got the second goal. So
he just looked comfortable on the ball. To be fair, it looked like he, comfortable in possession. Again, simple passing. It's just what you want at the end of the day, and it really don't. I know you mentioned about SA, having all the flamboyance and the tricks and stuff. Perhaps not liked by Millwall fans, but sometimes you just want people to do the simple things. Get down the wing. He put a few tackles in as well. Breaks. When he lost the ball. Chased back. He would be the other one. Or it would be easy just for me to say the two goal scorers that scored yesterday. But no, I'll not say that.
I also think you'd get a lot of disagreement if you said that. But
do you see Honeyman when he squared up to Bannon? I thought Bannon just found someone at his own size to pick on there. I did find that a bit interesting.
Yeah, I'd love them to watch them two scrap. But no, James, mate, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate you coming on to the show and give us your views on yesterday. And as always, a real balanced view on us as well. So thank you, mate. And wish you all the best for the rest of the season.
No worries. I'll do some more sledging outside with the kids now. So I'll see you all later.
Cheers, James.
Okay.
Disco, then coming to you. Any advance on the three players we've already had mentioned in Kasper, Lucas Jensen, and Femi Aziz?
Yeah. Sorry, Chris. Just going back to him, unfortunately, with James going off now, but with him saying there about SA hanging on to the ball too long and the fans not liking that, I have to say I'm absolutely delighted and a little surprised, but delighted. Millwall fans are quite all right with it, actually. We're giving him a bit of grace, aren't we, to say, look, my mate turned to me yesterday, he said, I'd rather him be doing that and making it happen once out of 3 times than not even trying, being too scared to try. So carry on, SA, keep doing it, mate. Yeah, it gets frustrating when he loses it, but it's fucking magic, some of the stuff he does. And I was really surprised. James didn't think he was that good yesterday. He did some great stuff and really was bullied as well. No wonder he's the most fouled player, Anyway, sorry, your question. So I take it, can we take loan players in that or not? Is it
No loan players, because they're not ours, are they? The whole point of this question is essentially like, if we think about, when I was sort of reflecting, I feel that we have 2 players that, in my opinion, walk into any team in the league that are. And then when I compare us to Sheffield Wednesday, I don't think they have players that are that level. I know Josh Windass has scored loads of goals this season, but I would say majority of their team are like good championship players, whereas I think we're too far apart. I think we have 2 players that are Premier League players, and then other than a few, which we are now discussing, the rest of League One. That's my view. So that's why I've asked this question, because I just think there is so much work to be done. I agree with the 3 so far. And if I'm honest, there's 1 or 2 more that I would possibly throw into the mix. I'm just seeing what you boys come up with.
Yeah. Well, I'd do it quickly. I would love to say Wallace and Brian. But I'm not going to say that. I've got written down Lenny, age, forget, age. You're saying, would they get into a mid-table championship team now? I think all day long, Lenny. Look, he got the run around a bit yesterday, but he showed true to form. He came back and he then got a grip of that winger. He did a great tackle in the box in the first half where he sort of got his foot back round the ball and he'd only just been booked. So it was a dangerous challenge to make, but he got his foot round and muscled him off the ball. and cleared it. So he's still got it. He's still worth his place on the sheet all day long. And I agree with James. Aziz, for me, I'm really pleased with how he's a work in progress still, but he's really developing well. And what I like, his defensive duties, and I don't necessarily mean like he did get caught out with the free kick that the cross went in for the equaliser. Should have stopped the cross, basically. But getting back and getting tackles in and making it difficult for, opposition attacking, to me, probably that's to do too much of that. I'd rather see him coming forward more. But that's a good investment by us. And I think he would get in mid-championship teams, definitely.
Agreed.
That's my
Agreed. Angelo, any others to mention?
I've got 3.
3 more on top of them?
No, I've got 3 in total, yeah. I've got Aziz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with Ben. I think Jensen's been great, mate. One mistake the whole season, in my eyes, yeah? So, Jensen. And then the other one, mate, we don't give this guy enough credit. And
I'm hoping it's one. Go on.
Huh?
I'm hoping it's the other one I've got in my mind.
And I always listen to the other managers' previews of our games. I listen to their post-match interviews, and every manager mentions this guy. They're all petrified of this guy, and I'm sure they'd all have this guy. And this guy is Cooper, mate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think Cooper, we undervalue him a little bit. He is feared by the whole league, mate. Yeah.
Agreed. Completely agree. And I think that because he's so, well, obviously not at the moment, because he's so consistent in terms of just appearances, you almost forget, it's like, what's the phrase? You don't know what you've got till it's gone type thing with him. And I do think we've missed him. And again, maybe if we had no disrespect to Murray Wallace, we had a better centre-back replacement, maybe we wouldn't. But I do think we miss Cooper, not necessarily from a leadership standpoint, because I still don't think he's a leader. But I do think we miss him, particularly in both boxes. So, right. So, if we are then saying that we've got, what's that? So, Lucas Jensen, Ryan Leonard, Jake Cooper, Casper Denor, and Femi Aziz. So, we've got 5 players that we think are championship standard. That's a big job on our hands then, isn't it? To kind of bring the rest up to where it needs to be. So, I guess my next question to you is, out of all of the players that are out of contract at the end of the season, so let's just go through them really, really quickly. So Ryan Leonard, Sean Hutchinson, Murray Wallace, Wes Harding, Danny McNamara, Joe Bryan, George Saville, I think I don't know about Billy Mitchell. Maybe leave Billy Mitchell to the side for a second.
On the transfer market, because I was having a look, Chris, he is on that list, but I thought he had another year left. On the transfer market, they are saying he is out of contract.
Okay, so for the purposes of this, I'm going to leave Billy out of it because I think anyway, because he wasn't part of the thinking. Sorry. So Tom Bradshaw, George Honeyman. There's a lot, right? If you had to pick 2 of them, I'll start with you, Ben. If you had to pick 2 to renew the contract for next season, which 2?
Can I have 3? Because there was someone there that you mentioned that I completely forgot about, and that was Danny Mack. And I would just give Danny an extension. I think he's at an age that he brings the squad age down, for one. You've seen now he can be used on both sides of fullback, so he's a bit of a utility player. Do I think he's the answer, is he a starting right back for us? Probably not, but I think he's a good backup right back, and as I say, he can play left hand side. Lenny, I think, will be unanimous here. I just think he has to get an extension. And this is more probably for someone to keep around the squad, because there's a lot of senior players that you've mentioned there, Chris, more importantly. I don't think Hutch will get an extension. I don't think Bradders is clearly going to get an extension. Honeyman's quite a senior player, where he's got the quality of, but there's a lot of senior players in that list. I would keep Sav around for another year. I think we've ran him into the ground this part or so far to the season. I think the aim would probably have been not to have used him as much as he has played. And I think he has still got a bit part to play in the squad. Do I think he's going to play 46 games for us next year? No. But could I see him coming on for the last half hour, starting a midweek game here and there? Yes, I can still see it. So they would be my three, mate. Lenny, Sav, and Danny Mack, just because I forgot about him.
Gents, any differences of opinion?
That is a really, really tough question. Well, some is very easy. The actual whittling it down to two is really difficult for a variety of reasons. And I will put a controversial one in there, especially on the back of what I've just said. I'm not sure I would, Lenny. On age, look, I know he's worked. I've just said, haven't I? He played well again yesterday. He'd get in a mid-championship team. I think if we're going to move forward, we've got to be quite brutal here and think we've got a history of this, haven't we, of keeping players on far too long through loyalty and all that. And I just wonder, is Lenny going to get, is he going to maintain? Is he going to get any better? He's not going to get any better. Is he going to maintain? I'd question that. So that's a real difficult one. And I'm erring towards politely and respectfully, look, for his benefit as well as ours, to go and play week in, week out with a League One or a lower championship team. Thanks very much. Off you go. That'll cause controversy, I know, but that would be my one. Danny Mack is a must-do for me, just on age, and defensively, he's fantastic, without a shadow of a doubt. So Danny Mack I'd definitely keep. And then for me, it would be a toss-up between, I'm probably going a bit different to the Lenny situation, but it would be a toss-up between Sav and Honeyman, which I'd keep out of that. And part of me, the quality is there with Sav used correctly. I think I would prefer him, and I still think Honeyman's got a lot to offer. And he's still very frustrating. But I'm with Joe. I think he could play a role in central midfield as well, as he's starting to do under Neil. So that's interesting. He fits him in there, doesn't he, when he makes subs? So if I had to go balls out to, I'm going to go real heavy heart, but Danny and probably Honeyman. That'll put a cat among the pigeons.
Oh wow, okay. Well, if you're listening in the comments, by the way, give us your two as well. And we've let Ben have three, so you can have three. Angelo.
I'm exactly word for word Ben, mate. I'm the same as Ben. Word for word.
Okay.
Yeah, them three. Lenny, Sav more for the group. Lenny, I think Lenny's got another good year in him. And out of all them, he's our best performer, so he has to stay. And yeah, Danny Mack is very versatile now, isn't he? So yeah, they're my three, mate.
So yeah, I don't disagree with anything that's been said, and I'm not just saying that. I think all of the players that we haven't talked about, I think correct. We're all in alignment. They need to be moved on. Unfortunately, because some of them have been great servants, and respectfully, I think we thank them for that. The only one that I'm a little bit toyed between is if you re-sign Leonard and Danny Mack, they're essentially your two right backs. And they're both quite same.
My caveat as well, Chris. Yeah, and to Steve's point, if you want to transition into a bit more of a youthful, dynamic team, exactly. Yeah, I'm with you there. I was going to caveat it with that.
So yeah, that's my only sort of, what do you do there? And I can see it going either way, because you could say, well, Lenny's the older one, and maybe therefore his quality is not going to maintain. But then on the other hand, Danny Mack might not want to stay and play second fiddle again for another season. So that's the one I'm not sure on. And then I think it really comes down between Sav and Honeyman for me, because I think they both offer something slightly different. Honeyman's a little bit younger. He's got slightly more energy levels, probably a little bit more variety. Whereas Sav, I think he's crucial for the group. So, but yeah, I think we've discussed the right players. Let us know in the comments what you think. We are going to do a transfer special at some point in the next couple of weeks. So maybe we can get some of you gents back on. But as always, thank you very much for coming on, chaps. Much appreciated. Really appreciate it, especially on a Sunday afternoon. We'll get this out right away. And if you've been listening to this, give us a like, share, subscribe. Everything really helps the channel, and everything is going to Cancer Research UK for this season. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And of course, as always, bye for now.